Welcome back to Data and Formula Integrity. In this video, we're going to go over how we can keep our worksheet's integrity when working between different users. Let's get started. As you can see, we're back to this same example, and it's March travel expenses, and there's these summaries that we've already created on the side and track these variances. Now, what I want to go over now is how can we protect this when other people are coming into our file and using it as well. So when you look over here in column L, I have protect file. So I want to go over how we can protect the file. That's like the highest level here down to the lowest level. So protecting the file when we open it, protecting the entire workbook. So that means all the worksheets within the workbook, which are these tabs. And then maybe we don't want to protect the entire workbook, but we want to protect at least one of these worksheets. So mine is, I only have two different tabs, title and integrity 6, or maybe just protecting a range of cells within a worksheet. And then lastly, I want to talk about how we can track changes when people come in here and they can say, I want to change this to 300. And I can say, yes, I approve that change, or no, I disagree with that change. Okay, so let's get started learning how we can protect this file. And by protect, I mean put a password to it. And so that's where we save our file at the end of editing it. So save as, double click on computer, and the save as dialog box pops up. And normally you just type in your file name and hit save. But to the left of this, there's actually a drop-down arrow that says Tools, and you can have some more options, general options. And this is where you can apply a password so that when somebody comes and clicks on your file and they're trying to open your file up, it'll ask them or prompt them to put in a password to open it. Or maybe if you want to, just have them put in a password just to make any modifications so they can write to the file. Or maybe you don't want to have any password, but you want to prompt the user as, hey, do you just want to come in here to read the file instead of write to it? That way, possibly more than one user can be in it at a time. One is read-only, the other one is writing to the file. So depending on the purpose for the user. Right now, I'm just going to hit cancel, but this is the area where we can make changes to it at the file level of protection. Cancel, cancel, come back. Now for the rest of these protecting options, they're all maintained within the ribbon on the Review tab. And to the far right, you have Protect Sheet, Protect Workbook, allow users to edit ranges, and then track changes. So let's get started with Protect Workbook. And remember that a workbook is the total of all of the worksheets. So the worksheets are the tabs. So in my workbook, I have two tabs, or two worksheets, and those two encompass one workbook. So I'm going to hit Workbook, or Protect Workbook, and all this does is protecting for the structure of the workbook. And I'm just going to type in a password, test, okay, and right now my workbook is protected. So if I want to add in another worksheet or tab, I'm going to come down here, right click, all of my different insert, delete, and rename, those options are not available at this time because my workbook is protected. So let's go ahead and undo that, hit test again, hit OK. Okay, so now let's learn how we can protect a worksheet. Protect workbook is protect sheet. Let's click in here. This dialog box will appear, and it says protect worksheet and contents of locked cells. And you may not know what locked cells are, so let's just define it real quick. Locked cell is either a cell is locked or unlocked. And you can see this by right-clicking and go to Formatting Cells, or just pressing Control and 1. Format Cells dialog box appears. You may be on a different tab when you get here, but go over to Protection, and you'll see that the cell is either locked or unlocked. And by default, all cells at the beginning, when you make a new sheet, are locked. And what this means is that if we protect the worksheet and it's locked, it means it can't be edited. But if we protect a worksheet and it's unlocked, it can be edited. So let's go ahead and leave this locked, hit OK. And now that we know what it means, let's go ahead and just test this. So the next thing is password to unprotect sheet, put in test. Right now we're just allowing users of this worksheet to select locked and unlocked cells. Hit OK, re-enter password, test, OK. Now if I try to edit something, I just tried to double click in there or hit F2 to change it. This dialog box appears and says, hey, you can't make any changes because it's a protected worksheet. And the exclamation point is a warning, so hit OK, and any cell, so that didn't work either. Let's unprotect it, hit test, OK. And what if we wanted to allow users to come in here and make changes only to this area we could make it all the cells unlocked. So let's hit Control 1, unlock them, hit OK, go back, protect the sheet, test, OK, test, OK, and it's protected. So if I look in here, I'm able to put in something. I didn't, but let's go over here. I can't do anything here. Now what's cool about this is that I'm allowing people to edit this range of data that is then summarized over on the right side. So I am not allowing people to come in here. This is a formula that I want anybody to see. Actually, that was kind of cool. I actually highlighted everything that this formula is looking at. So it's looking at yes and Jack in these 3 columns. So let's go in here and let's update this. Let's add $1,000. And you'll see that this formula updates down here. This formula updates down here. And we're on Jack and no. So Jack and no. This formula here should update. Let me hit enter. You saw that this updated, and this updated dynamically. And actually, this variance down here updated because this pivot table is not updating unless I click refresh manually. That's kind of a cool thing that you can do to protect the integrity of the sheet. My summary cannot be screwed up because I've only allowed people to type or make changes in this area. So that basically tells you how to protect a worksheet. Okay, now let's go back and undo everything we just did. So let's unprotect it, test, okay, highlight this range, Control 1, and lock them back up, hit OK. Now let's learn how we can just go ahead and allow users to edit this range, but allow them only to edit it if they have a password. So that's allow users to edit ranges. And we can come in here and this dialog box will appear. And so range is unlocked by a password when sheet is protected. So we want to set up a new rule so that the title of it and refers to cells, basically this area. So let's hit new and make a title. Let's just say test. And it refers to the cells that I'm already selected on. It's already recognized that. And this password range. So I'm going to put it test again and hit OK. Test again, hit OK. And now it shows up my new rule. So it refers to this range of cells. And there's some other permissions that you can put in here. But let's just keep it simple. Hit apply. And let's protect the sheet around it. So everything else will be protected along with this range, but if somebody selects this range, they'll be prompted with a password to be able to edit in it. Protect sheet, and then just like what we saw before, we're protecting the sheet. So I'm going to hit test for another password and test again. This is protecting the worksheet. So I have two different protections. We just protected the entire worksheet, and then we just protected this one alone, saying if somebody gives us the right password and they want to edit it, they'll be able to do it. So out here, again, can't do nothing. But within this range, this dialog box now appears and says, hey, what's the password? You want to type in it. So I put test, okay. Now I have access to all of these cells within here because I have that password. So I can come in here, travel expenses, or something needs to be changed. I'm going to hit Control Z. But over here, you can't do anything. That's what's useful about using this allow users to edit ranges function. I'm going to unprotect it, hit test, okay. And that'll allow me to come back into here. And let's just delete that rule and hit apply, okay. Okay, now let's talk about tracking changes. Now, let's pretend we want to go ahead and let people edit this area, which makes sense because we only want them to touch this set of raw data and then not touch these summaries. And so, but we want to understand what they've made changes to. So we can either accept that change or reject it and keep track of it. So let's go up here to track changes, highlight changes. And to enable this function, you have to select that checkbox. And it's asking, when do we want to look at this? We want to look at it all the time. Who do we care about this? And let's just leave it as that for everyone. So everyone who comes into the worksheet, even me, it will track the change. And then where, let's put it as this range. So let's select the range, get out of there, and then hit OK. Microsoft tells us that we need to save the workbook at this point. Just hit OK, and now it's saved. All right, so that means now if I change this to, let's say, 125, hit enter, you see that this purplish blue border came up around it and actually has a little caret in that top left corner, that triangle. And it says that I've made a change to cell G9 from 25 to 125. and it leaves it there. So now if I go ahead and close it out and I come back in, or somebody else comes back in later, they can go ahead and either accept or reject everything. So again, the workbook needs to be saved, hit OK. And what we're talking about is this same range, hit OK. And here's the change that was made. So either I accept the change from G925 to 125, accept it or reject it. I'm going to reject it for now. And you see it went back to 25. But that's a way that we can keep track of what's happening to this data, even if I'm not in the worksheet or standing behind the person who's editing it. To turn it back off, you can highlight changes again and uncheck that box, hit OK, and that talks about a sharing workbook. We don't need to talk about that now. The next thing I want to tell you is that you can use that function, let's unprotect the worksheet, in tandem with editing ranges, allow users to edit ranges, and protecting the worksheet, and also tracking the changes. So all three of those you can use in tandem to go ahead and protect this range, saying you must have a password to edit it, and then when you do start editing it, I want you to track the changes, and then protecting the outside sheet around here, saying you can't type anything over here or in my summaries. That is protection and tracking changes in a nutshell.